If you are interested in learning how to paint this little snail shell, we're going to paint it with soft pastel, and the goal is going to be to get really expressive, really loose, kind of do a fairly quick sketch. My name's Heather Nelson. I am primarily a soft pastel artist, although I work in other mediums too. I love nature, so I love to find little things in nature, which is why I want to try to paint this snail shell. Kind of like a still life that was once life. I learned that snails, they don't exchange a house like something like a hermit crab would do. They have something called a mantle, which is constantly, well, I don't know if it's constant. I don't know, maybe more Googling is required. But they are expanding their homes as they grow to accommodate them. So the fact that there's no snail here means, unfortunately, this snail reached the end of its life. But I found this shell and I'm really keen to paint it up. You can select a variety of colors, different golds and greens and blues. You can also screen capture this view here of this snail shell for your own reference. This one's going to go in the sketchbook, and I've made my own little sketchbook out of pastel mat, and I put glassine in between the sheets. We're just going to use this sienna color and we're going to tape it down. Okay, I think I'm going to start with my blocking in process, where I'm just going to think about, I'll come up with an angle that I like here first. Just move my little shell around, and I'm going to just kind of get in that curvature. I often like to practice the stroke of what I'm going to go for first. I mean, we can always change it later, but so we're going to make this like little C kind of shape here, and that's sort of the composition of whereabouts I'm going to be, and I'll kind of think of it as like blocking in through here. And that is going to be the idea of where I'm planning on putting my snail shell. But then I'm going to come in with, I think actually I'm going to get some pan pastel here, but you don't need to. So if you don't have pan pastels, don't worry about it. But I'm just going to kind of put some here down just to cover a little bit of ground. And it's going to be in a little bit of a haphazard way. Nothing in particular. But let's say you didn't have pan pastel, then you can come in with your colors. I'm just going to make some random shapes here. Random marks. I'm looking for a little bit of a painterly style background, so I'm going to end up with a few different colors back here. Just throw in some, and a lot of times on my background I will blur it a little bit, maybe even throw in a little bit of the color that's gonna be in my snail. Just kind of toss that in there, and now I'm going to come in and I am going to blend my background just a little. I might make more strokes for non-blending later, but I just kind of want to fill the tooth of my paper here first. And you don't have to blend if you don't want to, although I find, if anything, people are more blendy, not less blendy. I kind of want a darker color here too, so I'm going to bring in a little bit darker shade. Who knows what I'll do in the long run, and you can go a little bit over like your edges of where you think your snail might end up. So that for now. Kitty has made an appearance here. Just haphazardly blend in. And we'll do more with that, of course, later. Just gonna kind of rough up those edges for now. Okay, so that's going to be my background at the moment. It's not necessarily, okay, I'm adding a little bit of teal. I often will change it as the process goes through and as I get my main subject down. But I just kind of want something in here that I'm kind of pleased with the coloration, but we'll see how it works as time goes on. Now I'm going to block in a little bit darker, especially back here for my snail. Might even take into account a little of the shadow that I'm going to end up having. Just used a little bit of my eggplant Terry Ludwig. That's where my shadow is going to come in, and I'm just sort of skating across the whole thing. And now I've got this, it's like a browny green, I guess it's kind of like a sagey green. And I'm going to bring it from the outside in, kind of like in this sort of motion. I'm just going to like pull from the outside in the sort of rough shape of my snail shell. And I'm making a little bit of a twist with my wrist here. Gonna get a little more height up here. I want kind of some painterly edges, so there's going to be areas that are going to be kind of a little bit mixed, where you're a little bit like, oh, where's the background, where's the actual snail shell. So I don't want to get too fussed up about that. Now I'm going to bring in, this is like a little bit of like a, I don't know, it's like a darky gold kind of color. And same idea, I'm just gonna like pull and skate it across. And if it creates a little bit of lines, it's not what I was going for, but I'm not gonna object. So I'm gonna look at where these like coiled lines are coming from, and I'm gonna try to kind of like start there and then pull out to get these like striations that are gonna be in there in the long term. Maybe a little bit more up there because I can see a little bit more gold kind of coming in there. And then I'll make, I don't know, little mini ones kind of coming into the center. Now some of the areas that you might still want a little bit of dark, where you think, well, I kind of overdid it, but you can just skate the dark back over top in that area. And I can even make a little more delineation where that spiral is, if I want. I'm gonna get in a little bit of this orangey kind of gold for where my kind of highlights are. So I'm kind of pulling out from that center, woo, and I make that kind of shape there. I've grabbed this rusty color because I often find that the drama comes from a little bit of darkness, and I can see some little, okay, that didn't go down the way I wanted to. That's gonna happen sometimes, but you know what, we're gonna roll with it. I'm gonna be a little careful. I'm gonna rotate this over and very lightly just kind of skate it across, and then it'll make some of those dark lines where I want them. And I'm gonna put it through that little groove area. I just thought this color would be kind of nice in here. And it doesn't have to look exactly like the picture, right? Like, this is just a piece of art. I can make it the way I want it to. So I'm gonna add a little bit more to down below here. Might even want something even darker there. So I'm gonna bring in my eggplant. Sometimes it doesn't always go down quite the way I want it to. Might need something quite dark in there because this is going to be a little too light. We'll find something for that. I've grabbed some more colors. I don't know if they're going to be the right color. Now that I see this in the light, I'm like, it's a little bit royal blue, but let's throw it down. Let's see what it does. It was kind of dark when I was trying to pick them. Yeah, I don't hate it. Is it right? Yeah, probably not. Probably end up grabbing something else in the end, but a little skate over still from here. Kind of like that. And what shall I do now? Let's bring in, have we tried? This is a little bit of a khaki kind of green. It is a lighter shade than this one, and I think it's gonna bring in a little bit of interest. Barely notice it. Maybe you guys can see it. Okay, I'm gonna kind of stay on the edges that I want. A little bit through the middle of the swirl. We're definitely gonna have to create some delineation in that swirl, right? Like I need to see where that is. Boop, boop, boop. And then I'm going to come in with this as like, I don't know, quite bright, maybe too bright, but create a little highlight shimmer. And this actually has a little bit of, it's a Terry Ludwig with a little bit of ore in it, so it's got some sparkle. Sorry, I think I was shaking the table there. This has got a little bit of sparkle to it. So we're just going to give it a little skate in the areas that I want a little shimmer, a little highlight. And I'm putting it on such a light pressure because I don't want it to go down too dark, or shall I say too opaque. And then we need to kind of get in that kind of center idea. So I'm just making these little marks outside in. Might even end up having to do a little bit more dark through there, but you get the drift here. I'm just kind of working really gentle outside in. And then I may also bring in just a little bit of regular yellow. It's not got the shimmer. Occasionally bring it in all the way from the outside just to get some of those lines in there. And you want to look and see, well, where is that a little lighter, and then kind of move them. So I'm doing it in like little arcs along with where I see those little swoopy lines. I don't want to do too much in the shadow. Something like that. Okay, I want something a little bit deeper. I'm going to be really careful about this at the edges of these little swirls, and I don't want to get too, I don't know, too perfect. So we've got to just gonna kind of scratch it in, but I don't want it to appear like a realistic line. That's not what I'm going for. I want it to be quite painterly. So I would be disappointed if I got like a really firm line. And I don't want it to look too contrived, but I think it's coming along pretty good here. Now we want some areas, again, maybe a little deeper, a little drama around the edges to kind of get that idea that this is in fact a round object. So we're just bringing some shadow in there. And any time that you think, well, maybe I overdid it, don't worry about it. Just come back in. I brought this like really fancy orange, and it could be a little too strong, but like let's just play with it, see if it brings us a little something inside the shimmer. I'm maybe playing a little too much with funky colors, but I don't know. Color makes the world go round. And just dabbing with my finger to kind of really gently blend in those spots. And now I'm going to take a little bit of a step back because I'm quite close to it. You guys, you might even be able to see it a little bit better than me, but I kind of want to see what I'm working with here. So I'm just going to take a little step back, spend a little time with it, and then we'll come back to it. So in my observation, I kind of like how the swirl's setting up, but what I would like is just I've got quite cool like soft painterly edges around it, but there's some spots that I feel like I need a little bit more of like a hard edge so that I'm not always soft. In areas where I can create that like a little contrast with the colors. Like here I've got quite a dark green So it could be fun, bring a little drama down there, maybe even with the rust. I'll look at that and I'll just kind of see, like, was it too much? Maybe. Quite dark shadow right next to that. But you know what? If you don't love exactly what you did, you just come over with another color. That's like the coolest thing about pastel. That's why I love how forgiving it is. Like if you try something and then you're like, well, I don't know, I didn't love how it worked. Well, put more color down. That's a cool thing, especially if you're working with really a nice paper that can take a lot of layers. So I'm working with Pastel Matte, and Pastel Matte is just one of those things that can just take quite a lot of layers. You're not supposed to blow your pastels. I've probably mentioned that in other videos. You're not supposed to blow your pastels off here, but sometimes I just can't help myself. There's some areas where the light kind of comes back into my shadow, so I'm just gonna bring that in there and just soften it up a little. That's maybe looking a little bit better. There's even actually some areas where I do have a little bit of highlight on the back, and I think it's the gold. Now I've got to be very careful so that it doesn't just come off like a line. That might even be a little too bright. Let's see about something like this. Just kind of gently sweeping it, and we'll have a look-see at how that comes out. It's hard using words while you're filming, I have to admit. It's like you're concentrating on art and then you're supposed to be talking. So I admit I don't always make the best words. Okay. And then sometimes we may need just a little bit highlight. See what it does. And you can always dampen that down, the little bit of a blend, little blendy blend, a little darker, a little drama through the curvy part of the shadow. And then you could add in a few little lines that are a little bit more definitive. I'm going to do that, and then I'm just going to see what I think about it. Okay, that was too big. Let's just rub that out. If you don't like something, get rid of it. It doesn't have to stay. Of course, if we do too many lines, then there's the danger of us getting away from painterly and going into more realism. And you don't want to cross that line. You won't, otherwise it becomes overworked, hey? And it's really easy to overwork a painting, I have to tell you. I have paintings I have ruined with my attentiveness. I think that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how that's coming together. There's some areas where maybe the shadow could go a little bit deeper. And I don't want it to look like just a bunch of scratches, so I'm kind of making these little swirls. Oops, and I don't want to overdo so I'm just going to soften the edges up a little. I took a little stand back, and I'm slightly disappointed that I have so much curvature down here, and then it kind of gets small up there, whereas when I actually look at my snail, and it was partly the view that I had because of how it was going, but I would like it to have just a little bit more like up here. And of course there's the danger of ruining some of the work that I've done, but we're gonna just see if we can rebuild up there, give it a little bit more shape and drama, and just bring in a little bit of color back in here. And you don't want it to look like all patched up. That's starting to look a little bit better. Bringing that line in there. It is so important to stand back, because when you stand back, you start to get an idea of your work, okay? And the shape that you've got going on. It doesn't hurt to stand back and get an idea. I kind of want like just a little shimmer back here, just so it all looks like it's continuous there. Curious if I kind of bring a little bit more light and movement in from that side, what we think about that, because that's another thing to look at. I really like this teal, especially like next to the shell itself. And sometimes you can just make more definitive marks. You can look for like the color combos that you like and just kind of expand on those. Just add a little in here. Okay, now I'm kind of finding the shape a little bit more balanced than it was before. Now let's remember to sign your painting when you're finished. I've chosen a blue, and it's a new pastel, so it's quite a hard pastel, and I'm going to make my signature quite small. I don't love my signature, but if you do, you can make it bigger. And if you've enjoyed this tutorial, then please subscribe. I've actually sold this painting, so it's not going to stay in the sketchbook. I'm going to be slicing it out very carefully. I also like to sign the back of my paintings in pen.